So, talk to me, Mr. Chavez. The other day, we, discussed some things, and there were some potentialities that were talked about.
Mm.
I shared some of these potentialities with some of the union workers.
Mm.
And I must say, even with just vague potentialities, folk are very eager and excited. And I'm hoping today we can be a little bit more specific about what we discuss.
Absolutely. So, I've got good news and I got bad news. But I'm going to be rather straightforward. So I run a mechanic shop down in the city. One that's primarily been a product of my displeasure over the price gouging that's been taking place at other mechanic shops. Be it advertising a certain rate and then getting charged triple. Be it claiming there's a need for certain types of repairs when in all actuality the repairs are significantly less. Now, over the past week and a half, I've been slowly trying to build this dream into a reality. It has been a challenge, I must say, as the best way to describe what happened to our business model this past Saturday was we got Walmarted. To describe what that means, up until, what was it, the 5 days back, so up until Friday evening, independent mechanic shops and roadside assistance trucks were able to open up shop anywhere they wanted. Now, the smart ones, of course, would try to work out of a mechanic shop, an actual mechanic shop, with the proper tools. But Saturday rolled around and Rusty, the guy who supplies us with the parts, decided to inflate the prices by roughly 3 to 4x.
Wait a minute. Let me just make sure I'm following you. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
So up until the Walmartization, as long as somebody had the tools independently, they could set up shop anywhere.
Correct.
But come Saturday, what change exactly happened?
So the pots that we used to get them significantly lower. Something like $41 after tax. Saturday rolled around and the prices skyrocketed to about $195.
That is quite the change.
It is. Now, given the pacing at which I like to go, which is calculated, I don't like to rush into things. I like to, slowly sip my tea, so to speak. I had, prior to that Saturday, began to find a way to make my own pots. However, I wasn't too much of in a rush. I know that my shop was quite a bit behind Mosley's operation, specifically the contractors that work out of there, that sort of function as a conglomerate, or perhaps even one other shop being ahead of us as well in terms of getting a supply chain sorted.
How many shops would you say are active right now? 4, including yours?
It's hard to really say. I think it kind of depends on the time of day. Mosley's is always going to be operating. Anyone can go and grab a wrench over there. Then there's Popular, and then there's us. And I believe there's a couple others that come and go. I think 3 primary ones as well as a couple others. So let's say 3 that keep their doors open, and maybe another 3 or 4 that wavering. Now, the big thing that happened on Saturday was, given the dramatic change in price, those of us that relied on Rusty, we got cornered out. We had a choice to make: fix people's cars at $195 or get a supply chain going ourselves. This, of course,
supply chain to produce your own parts.
That is correct. The only way to do so, very similar to putting together other things, you need the proper tools and a proper place to do it, which is going to be a house. It also requires did require a significant amount of manpower. So I began to collect funds. $290,000 I was able to collect in a span of 24 hours.
And that money is held by you currently
That is correct.
in your pocket right now.
Well, not in my pocket, but in the
That's
bank.
unfortunate. That's right.
I was going to say.
Even if it was, I don't think that's how I do business.
I believe
you know what
you.
I mean?
Of course. Funny enough, one of my business partners showed up another 50 just now. Now, how true that is, we'll see. Now, that my original plan for raising funds, and I was able to do so rather quickly, I was able to do so rather quickly because there's a lot of trust I've built. A lot of citizens of Los Santos. They've seen what I can do.
Surely not in 24 hours or 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So
That is very impressive. These, by the way, are some more of union workers, so you can speak freely in front of them.
my original plan was to purchase a property down in the south side. Unfortunately, the speed at which things move down there is not of my liking. It quite frankly doesn't move. It quite frankly is way too, to mix a hostile, a little bit too much curiosity for my liking, and it would put some of my mechanics in jeopardy, and tow drivers. I mean, for a lot of mechanics and tow drivers, they're them walking in and out of a property would be a problem. So that's when my eyes settled on Polito. I'm being rather transparent as to the timeline, and this is when our phone call took place. My plan at the time was to speak with you, get a property, and work with y'all in order to help produce some of these pots. And then this morning happened, and this is the bad news. The manufacturers of said table. Well, let me go back a little bit. This table was very proficient. The more number of individuals you put on it, you can fit 5, 10 individuals around the table and have them manufacture pots at the same time.
Is that all you can fit? 10?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Is 10 the maximum that you can fit?
No, just a number I'm throwing out.
Okay.
Yeah. 10, I like the number 10 because there's 10 pods. So you could have each individual manufacturer some brakes, some this, some that, etc., etc. So that each of those 10 individuals would be manufactured a different pot and would be able to build up a list of 12. It's kind of like a 3D printer, right? You do a little bit of work on it, and then you let it go for an hour. This is when the day changed again. This morning.
Are we at the bad news yet?
This is the bad news.
Okay. Hit me with the bad.
Well, I woke up this morning and they did they call it a firmware update. It's when Elon Musk's satellite realign and update the software on your electronic devices. And
Sure,
well,
sure.
the table's got a chip in it. And well, that chip now lets you, instead of having to wait for each and every part to complete, it does all 12 of those at the same time. Thus,
So the labor is no longer necessary.
correct.
Interesting.
So, in some ways, I'm happy. Makes my life easier. But it also means that any Joe Schmo can set up a supply line. It also means that this opportunity that I was quite frankly looking forward to, working with y'all, becomes purchasing a house now, getting a table and working together. It no longer makes sense.
Mr. Nino, I'm listening, but I have yet to hear the bad news. There is no world in which using one person to operate machinery is bad news versus 10. What I'm interested in and looking forward to is working with you. You know, yesterday it was going to be
Oh shit! Okay.
through
I'll fuck with
labor
that.
to operate this fancy button of yours. But tomorrow it'll be something else. It'll be something better. To hear that you were able to raise $290,000 through investors in 24 hours tells me a lot about your person. That means that your reputation precedes itself. That means that a lot of folk who have the wherewithal to raise that type of money are then stepping forward and handing that money to somebody else. That's the type of person I'd like to get to know and build relations with. My interest, first and foremost, is the lumber here. Our lumber union operates vehicles. You're looking to make this LS Customs flourish. That's something that we can definitely help with in terms of bringing our people there, and who knows, maybe some other stuff too. Now, if that's a relationship that you want to foster separate from this bench, well, I'd like to know so.
I would love to.
I'm glad to hear it, Mr. Chavez. The, future of Los Santos, I think, is very bright. Currently, I know about 3 people who own a property. But in 1 year, that number will be well into the thousands. All of these places being built, being constructed, whether they like it or not, they're gonna have to make use of some of the timber that's growing here. And we're looking to be very favorable and helpful to those that helped us out when we were getting off the ground and facing a lot of struggle. And who knows, maybe even be very uncomfortable to those who turn their back on us. Now, you don't need the labor per se, but that is something that we boast of here. Strength in numbers. And I would love to tell my people here to make Nino Chavez's LS Customs a priority, considering that Mosley's is pretty much empty and in the dirt. And they are who we had to deal with.
Oh, sheesh! I'd very much like to do so.
I also would likewise, Mr. Chavez, if you and yours have any needs as far as timber and lumber, that you go through the proper channels, meaning the official Los Santos Labor Union that we operate here.
That works for me. I'll tell my workers to do the same.
I want to ask you a question here. This is me just being open with our business. we're getting a lot of I'm getting a lot of interest and a lot of calls for furniture. And unfortunately, we have yet to have our own property and workbench just because the profit margins here at the lumber station are lower than anywhere else in the city. Now, with your array of connects, do you know or have somebody who can operate some sort of machinery in which to produce furniture that we can work with, that you can put me in contact with?
You're looking at, I may be able to already. So there's
Okay.
another bit. There's two types of benches. One that goes in your apartment and one that goes in your house. Now, I imagine there may be some furniture that may be producible in a small room, while others may be a bit too big. But it really depends on the schematics. Have you
Now, what type of furniture is the small one, for example, producing?
it would require a blueprint. Now, I don't want to pry. I think
Go ahead, pry, partner. It's not prying. I trust you.
as the boss over here pointing to you towards any schematics.
Just a furniture stash. That is it. And no one has a higher rep than myself here.
If that is the case, perhaps he's just waiting.
Yeah.
I wish this bastard would stop waiting. In all honesty. You said there's two benches. One a small one for furniture and one a big one.
No,
Do you have
this,
access to the big furniture bench?
the big one would require a house. So the
But
way
it's
that
for
it
furniture.
functions. No, there's it can be used for everything. Here's so the bench in and of itself comes with a series of tools. It's it's got a lot of things that can do a lot of things. A lot of tools that can do a lot of work, different types of work. So to give you an example, if you were to get one of these benches, and you have the proper know-how and the proper schematics, you can start to construct vehicle parts, for example. However, it's the schematics that are the lifeblood of the bench. Now, some of the bosses that are scattered around the city, the ones that run the various lots, they all have a different sort of satisfactory rating that they give their the people that they train. And I'll give you a few examples, and this may be come to be helpful. The tow boss, Towington, I believe is his name. He's a bit of a drunkard. When when the borders first opened up, he was very, very trusting. Would give quite high ratings with every job that was completed by his that was completed for him. So much so that he opened up his cabinet full of goodies and kind of dangled them in front of you. He dangled a crowbar. He dangled lockpicks. He dangled repair kits, and he dangled those little locks that go on the side of a tire. Well, the first little goodie he wanted to give out was a crowbar. A couple were picked up. And then the drunken man decides, you know what, that crowbar is a little too valuable to me, so I'm going to wait until, I'm fully satisfied with you. Time went by. And as his underlings started to reach that satisfactory score, he said, "You know what? I'm gonna only hold on to 5 of these." And so someone went and bought another 5 right off of him and sold it to a bunch of non-tow drivers for a bit of profit. Towington got mad. So I guess all my stuff is gone. So he decided to hide everything in his shop and raise the satisfactory rating all the way to 500. And now he hides what's in his little goodie box so that as the satisfactory rating of his underlings increases, slowly find out what there is to buy. Unfortunately, even those things can be sold out to anyone on the streets. Where I'm going with this is I believe that once and if man at the bottom of the yard has schematics for furniture, he'll hand them out to those who reach the rating he wishes for, and with just a bench at hand, he'll be able to put together the furniture you'd look to build.
It's very frustrating on account of he tells me, Jack, you've done all you can. You can't go any higher within this company. You are the boss now.
He might be holding back.
He might just be. Maybe I still gotta prove myself and show that I'm committed to this place. Mister,
I have one thing. I don't know if that's true.
Please, tell me more.
Mr. Towington may have been a drunkard, but he may have been hiding an ace up his sleeve. You see, when he raised the satisfactory rating, my satisfactory rating went from, with towing, it went from, I believe, 64 all the way to what is now 169. I think it doubled. And eventually I raised it to 169. My
When
point
you're
being,
towman, when he's grading you, is he grading you 169 out of 100, or is he grading you 169 out of a
500.
greater number? Okay. This man here does not exceed 100.
Neither did Towington. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is maybe the man down the hill is still watching. And maybe the man down the hill may just be waiting for the right moment to raise the bar and start dangling the goods he hides.
I see. I'm gonna ask you a few more things, and feel free to say no. And I hope I'm not prying, but I'm curious, and if it's not something you want to reveal in front of a group, that's okay too. You mentioned that initially you had a intention of building and creating this facility that would produce the parts for LS Customs up in Paleto. Now, regardless of the labor, is that still something you're interested in building it here in Paleto?
I would. Just at a later date. I think right now, quite frankly, with the amount of demand I'm getting at the shop, we can produce most of that labor on a smaller scale. We found a way around it. However, I know it's...
Go ahead.
However, I know at some stage that may change. See, I've decided to invest some of the capital into not just my own people, but with enough of a supply so that when customers do come through, we don't shut the door on them and say, hey, we're out of pots. Or, hey, the price needs to skyrocket for X and Y reason. However, I am building slowly because I know any day now I may need that house for my shop to operate.
The reason I ask is because I'm thinking, because we have some similar intentions of having our own facility. Now, my time in the city and in San Andreas is very fresh and new. And sometimes I worry about security. How safe are these places? And what do we or should we expect once we have a place? Is that something that has to be guarded with the utmost secrecy? Is it
Yes.
something that has to be patrolled? Is it something that can even be breaking into?
These are very good questions, and I think nobody has the answers.
I see.
I think very much my plan for my shop has changed on a bi-daily, completely bi-daily. I mean, Saturday prices that went up. Sunday, I'm trying to figure out how to get a house. Monday, there's a smaller bench. Tuesday, there's always something new. The formula keeps on changing. I will say that I myself would never be safe down in the south side. I may know many people, but all it takes is one guy with a knife who's looking to get a quick lick. So I would say that when you do get a property, you don't tell anyone except those that must need to know, and those who must use the facility. Because if someone thinks you're guarding something in there, they will get it.
I assume that these facilities, these benches were built within the companies, that Mosley's had one like in the basement, that LS Customs would have one inside LS Customs. A little surprised to find out that that's not the case, that the supply chain is separated.
I'm quite surprised by that myself. And keep in mind, and this is a thing to fear, is as of right now, these bosses, your labor is very much tied to their goodies that they dangle, potentially a blueprint or some tools. And if he's dangling enough goodies, someone will come, attempt to gain his rep, and then sell those goodies. And
oh, I see.
And let's say you were to get a house, and let's say you were to get a blueprint, and that blueprint and what you were able to produce was worth quite a bit of money. Let's say a bed, for example, like a nice fancy one. Perhaps the going rate for that is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, which I think is perhaps a reasonable number to guess. And the profit margins were quite large. Let's say double the price of the cost of the goods, or maybe even triple. That blueprint, if someone were to stand outside the door and wait until the door opened and manage to take control of the house, they can slip their hand right into that bench and nab that blueprint.
What you think of that, Devon?
Yeah, man. Hey, valid points. When it comes down to the bench, I've been meaning to.
Sorry, could you speak a little louder?
Yeah.
Come
When
up
it comes
closer, Devon.
when it comes down to a bench, I've been meaning to get my hands on one because I want to know if I staple it to the back. If I remove the staples and grab that blueprint and put it somewhere else, is the staples gonna ruin it? Am I not gonna be able to, read my notes anymore after that? Because if that's the case, that's something I've been thinking about.
You can remove it and you can put it away. But keep in mind, if someone were to jump, they'd probably do it as you're entering in or when you're leaving out. You have to understand, those that really want something will sit and wait.
That really annoys me, Mr. Chavez.
There's some slimy people out there.
Okay.
You're starting to get an idea of some of the problems and the migraines I was getting Saturday, knowing full well how many operate
Yeah,
and how to
unfortunately.
find the solutions of security around it.
Nino, what I'm most impressed about of all the things you've said is the faith that people have put in you. Because I take you for the word your word. I don't think you're lying when you tell me you've raised that many funds. I don't think I've walked across or met many people like that throughout my lifetime. And I guess if I imagine who that person would be, I wouldn't think of you, and I'm very intrigued. I'm imagining you have a real deep past that goes beyond 2 weeks in the city.
I've lived here quite a bit from time to time. I tend to get deeply invested in solving very difficult problems. And oftentimes my way of moving can seem odd and unorthodox, but I know quite a few people.
Okay.
And the one thing I can tell you is I'm a man of my word, even if it hurts me.
That's something that I can respect. I think that's worth a lot more than, say, a potential $290,000 in your pocket. I think it's worth more than really anything. That perhaps to me is the highest currency, because it's the hardest thing to defend and stand by. Mr. Chavez, you giving your word that you will tell your partners, your people, for all their lumber needs to come through us. That to me is already a big deal. And I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing your LS Customs grow and prosper. And we'll do what we can to make sure that we do right by you. I have a feeling that our futures may be intertwined. And I hope that that word may turns into a absolute yes going forward. But only time will tell. There is one last piece that I mentioned to you the other day. There is a man that I want to introduce you to. His name is Stelio Lambros. He's running for mayorship. And if you could grant him an audience for, a few minutes and just talk to the man, who knows, I think he could be of great use to you in the future or in this upcoming election.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
I'm gonna go ahead and give him a call right now.
I think he around. He at the parking lot. I could bring him up.
Stelio, Mr. Nino Chavez is up over here. Let me go. I'll come and grab you, and I'll introduce you to, and you guys can have a chat. Okay.
Oh my god, the rain, bro.
You bring us some valid points though, Nino. Pretty much got the game on lock. You know how people are moving. It's unfortunate, I think people moved a little bit differently, and maybe our bosses wouldn't be so stubborn. Axel over here, he feel like he been holding on to some good things. As far as that furniture stash, he ain't always had the blueprint. One day he just felt like, I guess, dishing that out to some folk. And I do think one day eventually he'll start to give out some more blueprints. But right now that's like the golden ticket with a lot of people. Anybody that's getting their hand on one of them is keeping it close to heart.
Oh yeah. It's I can tell you that other similar things, the moment someone has it, word gets out very quickly. Unfortunately, some of the hottest workers in well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. I think for a lot of people that put a lot of effort into getting things, they realize that these blueprints could be worth a pretty penny. Instead of utilizing it themselves, they look at the immediate satisfaction of flipping it for, $5,000 profit, 10%, 20%. which might be nice and dandy in the short term, but in many ways it's spitting down on anyone who's closely reaching the similar satisfaction rating. But as a tow driver, it's disheartening when I hear a top tower buy out things and just hand it out to everybody else. You have to think, what about the other tow drivers? What do they get? They get to just look around and say, oh yeah, that's the thing I've been trying to fight for this entire time, and it's being sold for $500,000 now.
A recurrent thing that I'm seeing is a lot of folk is short-sighted in the city. You know, that's making a quick buck off of some blueprints. Instead, that you could build something. You know what I'm saying? If you work, you put in all that effort, and you dedicated your time to something, why not build something and see the profits later? It's just I don't get it. A lot of people ain't really they ain't moving correct.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to go around and spit game. If they want to do that, sure. I know sooner or later, me being patient and paying forward not only to myself but my partners here, it's gonna pay off. That quick buck shit is whack, man.
I think you have something very special going here at the Lumber Union. I think don't take it the wrong way, but it's such a tough job, nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, I hear that.
And I think because of that, and because if you keep on doing what it is that you're doing, I think one day, when things do happen,
how are you doing, everybody?
no one will know.
Hello, Stelio.
How's it going?
How you
Pleasure to
doing?
meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, my friend. My name is Stelio. What's your name?
Movie Stelio. Go ahead, take the. Stand
Nino.
up to the side, man.
All right, I'm gonna be down. I gotta take some calls. I'll be down by the parking lot. Mr. Chavez, thank you, and give me a call if you need anything, okay?
Absolutely.
We'll keep in touch.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Mr. Nino, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Stelio. Like I said, I'm running for mayor. I hear that you might be working with my close friends here, my associates, Mr. Cattleman, as well as everyone in this circle. And I think it's always a great idea to meet the people that we're working with.
Oh,
face
it's
to
this
face, right?
guy. I agree. I'll be honest, I went to the debates, and outside of that, I haven't had the chance to speak to too many of the candidates.
Well, it's perfect, my friend. I'm glad that we're getting a chance to speak right now. Let me ask you, what is it that you were looking towards? What is it you're working towards right here? Right? I know everyone's working towards something, whether it be a vehicle, whether it be a house, whether it be a business. What is it that you're aiming to achieve?
I went from a tow driver to becoming a mechanic. Became a master mechanic rather quickly. Only reason being because my truck had busted down. Became an unrepairable state. And when I got sick of working at Mosley's for a number of reasons, a little too hectic down there, a little too automated. I took to the road in my now fixed up tow truck, providing service to people all around the city. Customers came first. They needed help, I was there. Made sure the price was fair. They were satisfied. I was satisfied. As time went on, and I continued to do repairs, I slowly came to realize that people were getting ripped off more than I would have ever believed. Someone may have needed 5 parts. Well, they got 10. Why? Because more money in the pocket of the repair guy. Sometimes the quote's even worse than that. I about a week and a half ago, maybe even 2, I came to the realization I needed to open up shop, or at least get a bunch of like-minded individuals together to start my own thing. And the last little over a week now. I started working out of LS Customs off of Castaway. We haven't been publicizing for a number of reasons, namely because we want to make sure that we started with the customers we wanted, and I had the right mechanics and the right tow guys. Now, as I've told some of the others around here, there's been the man, Mr. Rusty, down in Mosley's. He went from charging $41 a pot all the way to $190. And unless you had a supply chain in place, and small guy like me, small team like we have, would not have the capital to have a supply chain. Requires a house and a bunch of other utilities.
Right.
So there you go. I went out. Saturday was the day I was going to start kicking off marketing and getting things going, but nope. I got kicked right in the balls, and Mosley's became the Walmart, kicking out the moms and pops. But I didn't give up. Sunday, I raised $290,000 from people around the city.
Well, I have to say, my friend, that is very impressive. You must have a very, very good reputation in the city of people that trust in you with their money like that.
I got a question for you. You know, you opened up your shop yet?
It's open now.
How much business are you getting?
So the shop officially opened a couple hours ago. First time we started advertising. We're getting about 10 clients a day, which isn't a lot. But that's also because our supply chain that I've been working on since Sunday has now sort of gotten into full operation. I'm now sitting on enough supply to handle the next 50 to 100 customers, give or take, with enough deals on the table with suppliers of materials and manufactured goods. So now comes the next challenge. That's where some of this money has been invested. Now comes the challenge of making sure I slowly build up an ample workforce and get the advertising out.
Well, my friend, it sounds like you are looking at a lot of work to be done right here in the future. Very, very soon, of course, the mayoral elections are coming out. Once the mayor's put in place, there is business proposals and business licenses that are going to be handed out, which add a lot of legitimacy to whatever business they get assigned to. I want to make sure that people who have supported me, right, are supported in turn, whether that means looking towards business licenses, club applications, things like that. I like what you're saying. Right now, there is a monopoly in the city at Mosley's, but I think, my friend, just from talking to you and seeing, well, I saw the image you sent me, right? So I know a lot of people are putting their trust in you, my friend. I think you're the person that can go toe-to-toe with these guys.
I agree. I think the next week's going to be quite testing. But right now, my business is just crawling. And then we'll run. Then we'll walk, and then we'll run. City's still quite young.
That's right, my friend. City is very, very young, and what we're gonna see coming forward is the most important times in this city's history as locations, hubs start being established, groups start being established. What I want to offer you, my friend, is I want us to invest in each other, right? If there's something that I can do to help bolster your business, I would love to be able to do that. And in return, all I'm asking, my friend, is you give me some support, right?
Can I ask, what is your vision for Los Santos?
Well, number one, my vision of Los Santos is, first and foremost, there's a lot of people struggling right now, right? There's a lot of people who are very, very down bad. I want to make sure that everyone has enough, right? So that they're not starving, they're not struggling, they're not having to work 24/7. They can go, they can enjoy things all across the city, whether that be concerts, whether that be races, whatever it might be, right? Number two, I want to make sure that we're getting love all across the island, right? There are a lot of people all over, and I think it'd be a very big shame if there was just a little bit of too much all in one spot, right? Whatever spot these other people might deem beneficial to them, right? I want to make sure that things are spread so that everyone, right, that we're working with can get a good portion of the pie. It's not all being funneled to one fucking guy. I want to make sure people like yourself are not gonna get fucked over by people at Mosley's, right?
Okay. And so, what about worker pay? What are your thoughts on a lot of the state-funded jobs to the various bosses through the city? Like, for example, there's a lot of hardworking crews around the city working various things. Do you see yourself pushing government contracts to them?
My friend, I would love to get government contracts moving forward, right? I have a very big idea for a subsidy program, right? For public service vehicles, whether that be EMS vehicles or law enforcement vehicles, right? And I want to make sure that businesses we can trust, right? Businesses that aren't fucking like Mosley's are getting priority when it comes to where those cars are going to get repaired, right? Same thing with other various things around the city.
I see what you're saying.
I'm glad you can see what I'm saying, my friend.
So right now, the PD's got a contract with Mosley's, which is quite interesting because I recall quite clearly how they didn't want to keep things so exclusive to just one shop. Things have changed. I understand they got needs, but at the same time, as I'm sure you know, a lot of these businesses were propped up by simply being the first at the shop. Have you talked to the tow union at all?
I've been speaking with Mr. Antonio from the taxi union. He wants to set up a meeting with the tow union, but I don't think we've been able to quite link up just yet.
Okay. I'd love to set up something sometime with some of my other employees with you.
Listen, I'm gonna head out, but I just want to say, Mr. Chavez, I think you were good luck because the foreman down there just offered me another blueprint. So, I'll see you guys in a bit. I got some
Absolutely.
work to do. Take care.
Best of luck.
It was good meeting you, Mr. Chavez. I'll see you around, all right?
You take care. Stay safe.
All right, all right.
Oh, shit. What the fuck? Dude, that's dope. Right.
You were saying that you'd like to introduce me to a few of your friends. I would love to meet them, my friend.
All right.
I would love to meet them, speak to them, hear what they have on their mind, and see how we can be mutually beneficial for each other.
Is there, are you normally on the yellow pages?
I'm on the yellow pages right now. I'm under mayoral candidate, Stelio Lambros.
All right. I'll be, getting in touch then very shortly.
All right. If I don't answer the phone, please give me a text message, and I will get back to you as soon as I can, all right? I want to make this a open line of communication, all right?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. It's been a
Thanks.
pleasure.
Awesome,
Coming.
meet you.